Welcome to the In Love with PMDD podcast. I am your host, Rose, your PMDD Relationship Expert. I have personally been suffering with PMDD for over 15 years and spent so much time desperately trying to navigate my intimate relationships, going from breakup to breakup, thinking that everyone else was the problem. I am now married to an amazing PMDD partner thanks to the PMDD-specific relationship tools that I have developed over the years, and now I am here to share them with you. Because I know that there is not much research available to PMDD partners, I am now dedicating my doctorate practice specifically for PMDD relationships. I am a Traumatology Doctoral candidate, and each week, I will be providing PMDD partners with my signature PMDD trauma transformational tools on how to effectively navigate an intimate relationship while having PMDD so that you can avoid the patterns of breaking up with your partner every single month and you can finally have the supportive relationship that we all desire and deserve. Thank you so much for spending time with me today. Now let's get into your weekly dose of PMDD relationship tools. We got this. Today, I'm going to be talking to you about how to stop detaching from your partner during PMDD. I'm so excited to share this with you because this is something that's so common with a lot of my private clients, and they really complain about how when they get into that state of being in PMDD, they don't feel loving and they always feel very avoidant towards their partner, and it causes issues because it triggers their partner to act out and have behaviors that are out of character, and so they end up triggering each other and going into this circle. But before we get into that, it's going to be really, really good. So first, I'm going to help you identify what that looks like. And then I'm going to give you some tools on how to combat that detachment that you feel as soon as PMDD hits. But I want to let you know that I am now opening my 2-month private coaching for PMDD called Breakup Proof Your PMDD Relationship. So this is something that I found out that a lot of my private clients need. And instead of just doing one session here, one session there, what I've done is customize the program where we meet every single week and we talk about the specifics that are going on in your PMDD relationship. Because I know so many times when you're listening to the podcast, there are a lot of generalized advice that I'm giving you, but it may not specifically apply to what's being said and done in your relationship. So this 2-month private coaching called Breakup Proof Your PMDD Relationship is going to be available starting in July. I'm only going to be opening up 10 slots initially for this program because I want to make sure that I give my private clients the time that they need because they are going to have full access to me during those 2 months. So if you are interested, go to the link in my bio and make sure that you hurry up and apply so that you can grab one of those spots and we can get started for the month of July. So let's get into the how to stop detaching from your PMDD partner. Okay, so let me tell you what this looks like. Earlier in my journey, I used to detach from my PMDD partner probably the night or the morning of as soon as PMDD would come, and I would get into this hyper arousal state. So what this states mean is I felt like I was really anxious, I was really jumpy, I was very irritable, and it made me avoidant towards my partner. It was almost like I was manic. I had to keep going, keep doing, keep moving. And I didn't want to stop because it was a way for me to disassociate myself from my symptoms. I didn't want to feel the symptoms that I was feeling. So I remember even one time my partner asked me, how are you feeling? Knowing that I was in PMDD, and I got so triggered and so angry that he had asked me about that because I said, that I'm in PMDD. Why would you ask me a question like that? Like, why are you doing this to me? And it was because I was really so mad because he was making me face the very thing that I was trying to avoid. So when we get in this hyper arousal state and irritability comes, PMDD rage comes, it's almost like your partner can say the smallest thing and you just snap and you say these evil, mean things and you don't feel bad about it. You don't even have any remorse. and you get very dismissive and neglectful to your partner. And you may say certain things like, I don't have time for you. I'm trying to manage my PMDD. So a lot of times when I would say comments like that to my partner, and I would kind of let them know that I don't have time for what you have going on because I'm barely surviving over here in my PMDD, that would trigger my partner to be anxious and clingy because he would then feel like he was losing me. And so when he got into that anxious state and got really clingy, I took him out of that secure attachment and I put him in a insecure attachment where he was just wanting to be around me. He was asking me more questions than usual, and everything that he was doing was triggering me. It was just making me so much more irritable. And I used to get up in the morning and literally put my headphones on. Like, that's how much I didn't want to be in the world. Basically, I just wanted to shut myself out. So I would play music, put my headphones on, and I would be walking around the house just completely dismissing my partner. And I felt like I was justified in the moment because I felt like this is the way that I'm surviving. This is the way that I'm trying to deal with my symptoms. But what that did, it did so much damage with my relationship because my partner didn't feel loved. They didn't feel like they were important. They didn't know if they were losing me to someone else because they literally started to think, how could she be so loving? And then all of a sudden she's not. Is she giving that love to someone else? And so I thought it was a good thing that I was moving, doing so many things, trying to distract myself from the symptoms because I was beginning to get so much done. All of the things on my to-do list, I was getting everything done. I was working till 3-4 o'clock in the morning, probably because I had insomnia. I really didn't want to sleep. I didn't want to experience the night sweats. I didn't want to experience the nightmares. I didn't want to experience any of those things. And so that was my way of avoiding. But what happens is when your body is in that hyperarousal state for a long period of time, it begins to do damage to you mentally and physically. So when you're in that hyperarousal, you can have certain things. So it's different for everyone. Your hands can start shaking. I know for me, my body would literally start to heat up. I would have rapid heartbeats. And I don't know if you've ever had bruises on your body during PMDD. I didn't even know this was a symptom for so many years. I literally thought I kept bumping into things. And I was like, man, what's going on? Like, I feel like I got beat up in my sleep. But what happens is when you're in that hyperarousal state for so long, it causes your body to have bruises because internally your body is trying to fight off that state. It's trying to get your cortisol levels to go down. It's trying to get your system to be regulated again. And when you allow yourself to be in that state for so long, it does damage to your body and it begins to do a muscle contraction. So if you have, I know for me, it's in my shoulders. My shoulders get really, really tight. If I go to get a massage, they'll say that I literally have knots. I have knots going on in my traps because when I'm in that hyperarousal state, it's almost like I shrug my shoulders. It's like you're holding your breath, you're clenching your fists, your body is just in this very tight space. And so anything that your partner says to you, you all of a sudden, you feel like they're attacking you and you attack them back. And then they either fight back with you and you both are arguing, or they shut down altogether. And both of those are damaging. If your partner begins to shut down and they're not talking anymore, a lot of times you can think that that's fine, right? You're like, oh, okay, that's fine. They're just, they're dealing with it. No, shutting down is almost worse than lashing out because at least if they're talking back with you, they're in it with you, they're connected there. But when they start to shut down, they're internalizing those feelings and you don't know what's going on in their mind. And so a big part of that is when you get to the point where you can't go anymore, you want to numb your feelings. This is when the drinking can come in. This is when doing a lot of, recreational drugs or something. And it's to the point where as soon as you start to feel your PMDD symptoms, you feel the need to use that substance. So you're using that substance in a negative way as a coping mechanism. And then, so if you think about it, PMDD for me last a good 14 days now. It used to be less. It used to be like 10 days, but now it's 14. And so I believe by day 7 or 8, I mentally start panicking because I think there's no way I can get out of this state. Like it's almost a sense of, okay, I can't stay this regulated. I can't not sleep for a whole 14 days. I can't keep going. Then I just get into that state of doing absolutely nothing. But then when I get into the state of doing nothing, it's just like I'm laying there exhausted because I've literally worked myself into a state of exhaustion. And then I start to get behind in my work, behind in my housework. I start to feel overwhelmed. And I try to force myself to do any and everything to keep moving. And I see myself not stopping until I literally can't. And you're mentally and physically exhausted. And a lot of this happened earlier in my journey. And I thought, I thought this was normal. I thought this was how my life was always going to be. And my partner was just so triggered by it that he couldn't understand how I could go from this outgoing, loving, very compassionate, connected person into this just cut off, disassociated, didn't care about anything that he had going on. So it was really, really hard. And I want to give you some tips on if you're identifying with ever feeling any of these things, like you're really, really on edge. I want to give you some tools that you can use to manage that so that you don't continuously do damage to your PMDD relationship. And so what these PMDD relationship trauma transformational tools do is they counter what you're instinctively doing to cope with your PMDD symptoms. So if your go-to is to get into this hyperarousal state, detach from your partner and get into this manic state, I know that when we're in ovulation, we tend to get in a very manic state, but it's not that detrimental to our partner. Like we just getting a lot done. It's like when you get that burst of energy, but you're not necessarily cutting your partner off at that point. You're just being really, really productive overly. And ovulation does not last anywhere near as long as PMDD. So it's okay if you have a burst of energy when you're in ovulation and you do, 2 to 3 days of just getting a whole bunch done. And that's fine, to sustain you, because then you're ideally you get the rest after that. But to stay in that hyperarousal state for a whole 14 days, it's doing a lot of damage to your symptoms. It's causing your other PMDD symptoms to flare up because your body is just trying to fight against you and you're trying to fight against your body and the symptoms, and your partner is just sitting there watching you. Like one time, I believe I think I was like vacuuming, and my partner was just watching me go back and forth and look for this. And then I started like yelling, like, have you seen the scrubby? Like, have you seen, like, it was so, looking back on it, I was like, what in the heck is going on? So what you can do when you're in that hyperarousal state is, number one, slow everything down. This is going to be very uncomfortable. So this is why I'm doing my 2-month private PMDD Partners coaching, Breakup Proof Your Relationship, because what we're going to do for the first month is we're going to find out what states that you're normally in when you're in PMDD. And then I privately customize and give you the tools that you need. And then we follow up the next month to make sure that the new way that we're implementing these tools is actually working in your relationship with your partner. And then after that, after the 2 months, you can either choose to continue or you can just rinse and repeat those same tools. So it's my goal to give you the tools for you to do this on your own, but I'm going to guide you during the 2 months. So make sure that you grab one of those spots, because I want to make sure that you have something. If you're identifying with any of this, that you have something that it is that you can do when you're in that state. Because I remember part of the panic for me was feeling like there was no way out, feeling like this is just how it's going to be. And when you get into that state where you feel so helpless and the anxiety starts to come and the rapid heartbeat and the sweating and all of these things, like that's a horrible place to be for us for a long period of times. We all have these moments where we have breakdowns and we have hard things happening, but it was never those things are not meant to last for as long as you're in PMDD. And it's not meant to last month after month after month, because what it is, it's re-traumatization. So it's a traumatic experience to go through that. And then you're adding on to it every single month as you're doing it again and again and again. So the first thing that I want you to do is slow everything down. When you get up in the morning, if that's when you notice that you're in that manic state, instead of immediately going to do, I want you to practice writing down everything that you have going on in your mind. If you don't want to write it down and just sit with it, because I know for me, movement is really big. Like I prefer not to just sit first thing in the morning. So you can either do this sitting or you can go for a walk. And a lot of times I used to use the notes option in my phone, or just email it to myself, and I would just be typing it as I was walking. But you need to get those thoughts out so that you don't act on them, because what it is, think of it like it's all of these negative things in your mind in a jar, and they're just floating around. What you need to do in order for you to get your system regulated is to empty the jar. Empty all of those negative thoughts, those negative feelings that you're feeling really, really overwhelmed. Just write it out. Just say F it, write everything out. And then I want you to separate the facts from your feelings, right? So you may be thinking specifically towards your partner that they're rejecting you because you're unlovable, because they don't want to be with you, because you're not important, because you're not special. Whatever it is that you're thinking, get real and raw with what it is that you're thinking about what's going on with your partner, and write it out and think about what is true about that. Think about, is this actually a fact? Because when you separate the facts from your feelings, it causes you to be less overwhelmed, because you can look at it and say, I know I'm feeling this way, but I also know that that's not true. And when you begin to recognize, okay, you know what? I feel like my partner doesn't love me right now. I feel that they're not giving me enough attention. I feel that they're not attracted to me. I feel that I'm not good enough for them. I feel like I'm damaged. But what are the facts? What's another way that you can look at it? When you can go back and think about things that your partner has done and said that has validated how much you mean to them, who you are to them, and that can comfort you. So it's not always about expecting our partner to be able to give us what it is that we need. This is the work that you're doing on your own. This is the work that we have the responsibility of doing, is to implement these tools so that we don't have to depend on our partner to validate us all the time when we get into these really manic states. And we're detaching from them because a lot of times we detach because we're attaching to a feeling that's not true with facts. We get that feeling because of something that's one of those intrusive thoughts that made us feel insecure, that made us feel unworthy, unloved, whatever it is that feeling is in your body. It's because it originated from a thought, and that thought may not be true. So the second thing I want you to do is be transparent. Let your PMDD partner know that you're feeling anxious, that you're feeling nervous. I know so many times we don't want to tell our partner. Number one, some of us don't want to tell our partner that we're in PMDD because we don't want to hear them kind of say like, oh, everything that's happening is because you're in PMDD, right? Because we all know that not everything, like sometimes we have valid points and it has nothing to do with PMDD, but we get so tired of defending ourselves to our partner and them categorizing everything as being PMDD that we tend to not let our partners know when we're in that hyperarousal state. So I want you to be open and honest with them as you're moving around and just say, hey, like I'm having a moment. I'm in PMDD. I'm feeling this way, and give them the opportunity to be there for you. Even if in the past they haven't handled it right, they've kind of, like I said, generalized it and said, oh, that's PMDD, and it really wasn't. Give them the opportunity because they need to understand why you're detaching from them, why you're acting the way you're acting, and tell them that you love them, tell them that you care about them, say the words. You may not be feeling like saying those words. I'm going to be honest with you. You may not feel like telling your partner that you love them. You may not feel like telling them that you care about them. But here's the thing. When you're not feeling loving towards your partner, you need to do loving actions. The feeling comes after the actions. It's just like a lot of times if you go to the gym, a lot of times you don't feel like going to the gym. You may hate going to the gym, but once you leave, you feel good. You feel good once you're done. It's the same thing with the loving actions that you're doing towards your partner. You're not going to feel like it. Probably not. I would say about 70 to 80% of the time, I don't feel like it when I'm in PMDD. It's just there's some resistance towards loving my partner when I'm in PMDD. It's like it's not natural. It's not natural for me to do it. And so I have to fight that feeling. And by fight it, I mean, you do something loving. So what I do with my private clients is we create 3 things. And we say on a daily basis, like a ritual, we create a ritual. You're going to do these 3 things. They're not going to be back to back. They're not going to be super overwhelming. It's not going to be something that's like you're going all out like you would when you're in your good days, but it's 3 things so that your mind can start to do them on repeat, like a habit. And so that way you don't have to continuously force it. It's just going to be like getting up and brushing your teeth. I know even sometimes when we're in PMDD, we don't feel like doing the simplest things, but this is going to get you in that mindset of creating that ritual. And then you're going to be doing those loving actions. And then the loving feeling is going to slowly start to come, but they need to come once you're regulated. So that's why I said you need to get everything out on paper. Whether you type it, get it all out so that you can really look at it. And then after you let your partner know what's going on, take a moment and acknowledge that you're doing your best. Let yourself off the hook. Because a lot of times we think that we need to prove to ourselves and our partners that we're a good person. You have to think when you're in PMDD and you're having all of those negative thoughts and stuff, it makes you question your self-worth. It makes you question who you are as a partner, who you are as a parent, who you are as a friend. You think your friends don't like you. So you constantly doing all of these things, it's like kind of helping you validate who you are. So I want you to slow that down a little bit and know that you don't have to continuously work to prove who you are. You're good enough just as you are. You are good enough just as you are, PMDD and all. So take a moment and sit with that. I have a lot of my private clients do these affirmations, and one of them is, you are good enough just as you are, PMDD and all. Not you're good enough in your good days. Not only that you're good in your good days, but you're also good when you're in PMDD because you're trying your best, because you are fighting. You are fighting a horrible disorder. You are living through something that some have not. So I want you to just be proud of yourself for how far that you've come and what you've done. And know that you're amazing. Know that you are amazing. And a lot of the things that you deal with, other people don't have to. Right? So I want you to accept yourself and start building on that self-esteem, because that's going to help you with how you look at your partner and then how your partner looks at you. So creating these rituals and routines that really build yourself up. And I say do it first thing in the morning, because if you wait till you're already feeling horrible by the middle of the day and you try to restore yourself, like you've already taken in so much. So think of every day as like a fresh start and begin to accept yourself, PMDD and all. If you need help customizing a routine that you can do first thing in the morning, you can always go to the link in my bio where I have the PMDD morning routine, and it just maps out to do what I do first thing in the morning. That's literally worked for me. So you can apply to work with me in that way, and creating that structure of just building yourself up so that when you go to your partner, you can be open and honest with them and not feel insecure about it. Not feel like, oh, I really don't want to talk to them because I'm in PMDD and I probably sound crazy. There's been so many times where I've been trying to prove points to my partner, and that brain fog comes in and you can't remember anything and you're clumsy and you're dropping stuff. And it's just like you feel so incompetent when you're really a really smart person. But it's like you get in PMDD and you're like, ugh, I can't even. So also, the next thing I want you to do is share your needs with your PMDD partner. What do you need them to do in order for you to feel loving towards them? Because it may be different every single month. What you needed last month may not be what you need this month. And be mindful when you do that, because I used to say, I just need space. But me asking for space was me trying to continue on with the avoidance. So if that's your answer, look for something else. Look for something deeper. What is it that you really need that you would feel loved if your partner did it for you during PMDD? Be honest with them and say, listen, I need this from you. That's your partner. You're in an intimate relationship. It's their job. And it should be their pleasure to do what it is that you need. But sometimes it just takes us a moment to really figure out what that is for us, right? Sometimes we don't know what it is. So what I want you to do is utilize these techniques and begin to recognize when you're making that shift, because the best thing you can do is when you get into PMDD and you're starting to detach from your partner, recognize it so that you can stop it. I hope these tips helped you. Remember, go to the link in my bio to get the 2-month private coaching with me to breakup proof your PMDD relationship. There are only going to be 10 slots. There's thousands of people that listen to this podcast every week. So if you want your slot, go get it early so that we can start working on how to have months and months and months of PMDD without all of the detachment and without doing damage to your relationship. You got this. I hope these PMDD trauma transformational tools help you and your partner. I am so excited to announce that I am opening up 10 spots for my exclusive 2-month private PMDD coaching called Breakup Proof Your PMDD Relationships. Within these 2 months, I will be working with you one-on-one to give you customized strategies for your specific relationship to ensure that you and your PMDD partner stop the monthly breakups and stress so that you can have the supportive relationship that you desire and deserve. I am only opening up 10 spots, so go to my website, www.inlovewithpmdd.com, and grab your spot now. It's time to start actively working on your PMDD relationship. Remember, love is not just a feeling, it's an action. And I know that if you're listening to this podcast, you're ready to take that action. And I know that your PMDD is worth not only saving, but working on, so you can finally have the peaceful and supportive relationship that you desire and deserve. For everything that as PMDD partners go through, we should not have to do this alone. If you found this podcast helpful, please comment and leave me a 5-star written review to help other PMDD partners find our show with these tools and support. This is how you can help support this show and other PMDD partners. Until next time, remember, we can have the relationship that we desire and deserve while having PMDD. We got this.